and it was kind of strange. They were trying to. The AR was attaching things to physical objects, and then people were able to move things from one point to another. And so it was a bit like almost like cards or something of that nature. And so the ability, they wanted to pair things together. And so, and this, I forgot, it was I think a journalism class. And so AR allowed them to basically attach lots of information to different cards, and then they could have this pairing process, and then they could evaluate them on their ability to connect concepts together. And so perhaps it's, it's not through the simulation, but the fact is that you can say, well, you stacked up all this information in these 3 different piles. Did you actually classify this stuff correctly? And things of this nature. And because AR would allow you to produce an infinite number of different combinations to the student, then you could assess them on something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the point there about replicating reality. I think what we see with all online technologies is our initial design strategy is actually try and replicate what we do in the non-technological environment. And so I think we've seen we're moving beyond that in the way in which we use a lot of our online environments now. And I think we'll see the same thing with the augmented reality, and indeed what comes after that. I mean, again, like at the moment, I think we're in very early days here, and it's really about our imagination here, I think. And again, from my point of view, I mean, why do we bother doing all this? It's because we want to provide an environment which is far more imaginative, far more deep, and far more engaging for our students, but also for us as teachers. I mean, the environment has to be engaging for us as teachers as well.
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting because I think at the end of the day, whether you agree with the methodology or not, handing out a simple, quick pop quiz and having the students fill it out in 5 minutes is a pretty efficient way of getting, whether it's effective or not, we can argue. I think this becomes interesting when you try to do things that you can't do now, and I think that's where you want to apply this. You can, perhaps what you do is, and I'm not saying you do a treasure hunt, but perhaps when students go out, because the other thing too, which I haven't really talked about with the mobile phones, is students can attach information geo-referenced to when they're out in the field. And so then when you go back, then the supervisor could view that on something like Google Earth. So you're going to say, I want you to go out. I'm making this up as I'm talking. But say you have a biological field trip and you're supposed to identify X number of plants. Well, you go out there and you identify them and you can geo-reference them and take a picture, and then what happens is then the supervisor can then go and view that either in situ out there or back on a Google Earth. So I think there's a number of different, I keep saying that the educator leaves the information there and then the student consumes it, but we can look at it a different way. The student can go out there and leave information, and then the educator consumes it to say, did you leave the correct information in the correct spot with the correct description?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great example, what you just said. And also, Paul, did you want to say anything about the Hyson Trail?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody, and they're talking of taking Android phones out and having them say you're now approaching a photo spot. It'll show up the trees that's being monitored, and the person will take a shot, bring it back in, so they'll be able to get pretty regular updates of how things are going.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, that's actually a nice use of an audio interface, because while I'm going out bushwalking, I don't want to be looking at a phone. But if it sort of beeps at you and says, "Could you please take a picture now?" or take a measurement, that would be an interesting aspect of it. The other thing too is we're only talking about visual here, so you can also, if you wanted to, they could take other measurements, other sensing measurements.
I think the phone did beep at them as they were coming into the area, and then it would sort of guide them to the actual spot. So it wasn't that obtrusive that you had to walk the whole distance carrying your phone.
No, it would be a great idea.
Okay, were there any other comments that people wanted to make or any examples that they wanted to let us know about? Okay then, I might just bring it to a close then, Bruce, if that's okay. And I just want to formally thank you on behalf of everyone. I think that was a great topic. I think it's something that we'll see a lot more of in the future. And I certainly think that it's given us a lot to think about. And we'll certainly, on our Transforming Assessment website, we'll be certainly putting up some more resources on augmented reality. We don't have anything up there yet, but it's one of the areas that we wanted to put some material up. So Bruce might get back to you about that, as well as some of the things that people have been putting up. And in fact, there's more of them coming up here, the MIT one I saw there. So yes, we'll be collecting some examples. And there's also examples which we've actually put some of the URLs in on the way here of where you can have a go at this yourself at home. I mean, essentially, you just need a webcam, you need to download a bit of software and one of these templates that you can get off the web and actually have a go at the augmented reality yourself. It's a very simple way of doing it, but it gives you a feel for just what you can do. And I've actually done that myself, and it was great to play around with the kids with that. So it's a really, it's something that you don't need all that expensive equipment just to show what you can do. What you need the expensive equipment for is to be able to do it in a much more meaningful and deep way.
I don't have. I'll get the link to you, but the one that I like the most is the one with SketchUp, the Google drawing application. There's an AR version of that that's free. I got that running in like 10 or 15 minutes. That included downloading and installing the software. So that's a very simple example to get up and running, and it's not difficult to use.
Yeah, thanks for that. And we'll be putting all those resources on the Transforming Assessment website. So we'll set up an AR section on that. So again, Bruce, thank you very much for the presentation today. And thanks everyone for participating in this. So I think probably, Matthew, we could stop the recording now probably.
This Transforming Assessment presentation has been sponsored by Centre for Learning and Professional Development at the University of Adelaide, Australia, the Australian Learning and Teaching Council,